I'm Luke and welcome to Down from the Attic. When you think of classic dungeon crawler board games, you're probably going to think of one of two games, Dungeons and Dragons or Hero Quest. However, today we're looking at another game. We're looking at Dark World from Waddingtons. Wow, this is a heavy box. Let's get this thing down and have a look at it.
This box is a little battered, but damn if that artwork isn't impressive. Someone really went to town with this. What kid in the 90s seeing this on a toy shelf wouldn't want this? And lifting off the box lid, the box is absolutely crammed with parts. Scenery pieces, miniatures, tokens, flags. This is seriously impressive when you see it. There's easily 200 parts to this game, but then you realise this is all going to need assembling. And this takes quite a while. When assembled though, I mean, just look at it, look at it. There's no denying for an out-of-the-box game, this looks incredible and quite an achievement. There's opening doors, plastic chests with treasure inside, secret passageways, crumbling ruins, and not forgetting the gigantic castle at the end of the board. Just seeing the game like this is a reward in itself for setting it up. The miniatures of this game are extremely well done for what's essentially a kid's game. The four heroes are all different sculpts, even the weapons are separate. The monsters are amazing to look at, and quite varied. Orcs, skeletons, mummies, trolls, a manticore, it all looks incredible and it's hard not to immerse yourself in this world. The Dark Lord Korak, the Cobra King, has sent his minions of evil to destroy and control the land of Terra Nova. They turn Terra Nova into the Dark World. It's up to you, one of the last four heroes in the realm, to destroy Korak, his army, and restore the world. To defeat him, you'll need to travel through the Dungeon of Despair, defeat the monsters, through the Oblivion Gate to Korak's castle, and deal with him face to face. Will you be victorious? Starting the game, you select a warrior from one of four. Everyone starts at the fountain, just outside the dungeon. Your play piece has this numerical life counter built into them. Your figure also starts with their normal grey weapon. The golden weapons are hidden in the chest within the dungeon. The battle cards are shuffled and 3 are dealt to each warrior. These are hit or evade cards that can be used within battle. More on this shortly. One player will assume the role of Korak and the Dungeon Master. At the start of the game, the Dungeon Master decides on which monsters will carry loot and treasure. Korak is placed on his throne with the manticore in front of him. The Dungeon Master shakes the battle mace, which has 4 coloured balls in it. Which sequence they land in determines what order the heroes will play in. It's an interesting mechanic for sure, and means that the player furthest ahead in the dungeon isn't constantly moving forward first. It also means that the player isn't constantly entering and encountering the monsters first. The only problem with it is the noise. Rattle, rattle, rattle. After a few turns, this will definitely get annoying. Turns start by the heroes moving first, then Korak. A hero has 3 action movements in a turn. There's no roll to move in this game. However, moving a square means using up one of these actions, so the furthest you can move in a turn is 3 spaces. Other actions include opening a door, and these really open on little hinges. So cool. Opening a chest, these hinge open too, or battling a monster. After the heroes, it's then Korak's turn. He can use any of his monsters 3 times, so if there's multiple on the board, this is bad news for the heroes. He can attack multiple times and really chip at health. Each hit to a hero, you knock the life counter down by 1. I think this is a great way of displaying the health on the heroes. You rotate the base and the number goes down. Clever design. Korak can also deploy the Haunter, a spectre-like figure that kills everything on a specific row, even Korak's own monsters. The figure is great but fantastically pointless. It's basically a god move, so the figure is never moved and ultimately never really needed. Combat in the game is done by moving your hero or monster to a square surrounding your foe. You roll the battle dice. These are custom dice for Dark World. The sides on these show swords, varying from 1 to 2 swords. These act as hit points. Korak only ever rolls 2 dice. Heroes start with 2 dice, but finding a golden weapon in a chest means that you can roll 3 dice and deal out more damage. As mentioned, it's easy to track the points on a hero as it's on the base, but what about the monsters? The hit value for the monster is on the base of the monster, hidden from view. Only the attacking player will know the hit value needed and looks at it in secrecy. If they roll enough hit points, the monster is defeated and placed in their tray. Korak offers a random point coin to that player and these count towards your score. Players can use their hit and evade cards to boost how many strikes they land on each other. Knowing when and where to play these is a key strategy. When a hero enters a new room, the total amount of hit points that Korak can assign to that room is printed on the floor. So the first room is 3, so the heroes start battling low level monsters. However, the player playing Korak is able to use some discretion when it comes to placing monsters. Korak could place one level 3 monster, or a level 2 and a level 1 in this example. This brings up an interesting thing about the gameplay here. Even though it's a group of you who are playing heroes against one foe, and playing cooperatively to a degree, it's the person who gains the most points from monster slaying that will be the only winner. If Korak kills all the heroes, well, he wins. For all the cooperation you'll be doing battling through the dungeons to reach Korak, only one player will be the winner. Slain monsters also drop items. There's health potions which are incredibly useful, speed boots double your movement, and there's also grenades to lob at foes. These all have their use, and thinking carefully about when to use them is key. Of course, how often they spawn and show in the game is all down to the Korak player, who decides if they want to add them to an item monster before deploying them. If they're playing really mean, they'll add nothing, making for a much harder game. Slaying monsters and acquiring items is a major part of this game, and it's the player who lands the death blow who gets the item, so being aggressive seems to be the way to get ahead. However, you can find yourself surrounded very quickly and get killed. You'll definitely have to pick your battles. The game board is more or less divided into 2 segments, the dungeon and the castle. The heroes have to work their way through the dungeon to get to the castle. There's only really one way through the dungeon, this zigzagging path. You can opt to use these rotating walls, very Scooby-Doo, and move through the dungeon faster. However, this is a risky move. Going through the bookcase into a new room spawns monsters into that room, and you can find yourself very quickly outnumbered. If a hero dies, they're sent to the very start of the dungeon. Their health is set to 1. However, they can go in the fountain of restoration and heal themselves back to full health, or use a potion if they have one. They can also use the teleport to move to the room furthest ahead with an open door. This feels a bit cheap to me. The only thing that a hero really has lost is time. It'll take 3 turns to do a heal, teleport and be back fully in the game, and this doesn't feel like much of a handicap for dying. They even hold on to their golden weapons, which, again, it just doesn't feel right this. Crossing from the dungeon into the castle realm is a point of no return. Make sure you've got everything you need because this is the final battle. This will be tough. You'll need to battle through Korak's remaining monsters. The ridiculousness of this game is shifted into 5th gear as the doors to the castle are opened from the inside and the monsters pushed out. It looks impressive, but is absolutely pointless. Korak carries a hit point of 7, so even if a hero rolls the highest on all 3 dice, he'll still need to play a battle card. Because Korak doesn't move, he doesn't need to move to attack, the warrior will always come to battle him. So, if you mess up on your rolls, it's all inevitable that you're going to die. And this time there's no fountain to revive you. You die, you lose. Fate lands really in the dice at this point.
And ultimately, that's the real problem with Dark World, the gameplay and the mechanics. For all the work that's gone into the making of this game and the design and the presentation, the actual game itself feels really phoned in.
Rather disappointingly, despite the fact that the 4 heroes are all moulded differently, they perform and act the exact same way. Dwarf, mage, warrior, barbarian, no matter what you pick, there's no defining attribute to each. There seems to be the case with the weapons too, no special attacks, no defining characteristics, and this feels like such a missed opportunity. 4 players, 4 weapons, there'd be 16 different combinations if they'd just put the effort in, and it'd make the game instantly more replayable. For all the pieces, all the scenery, this game has 1 layout. That's it, 1. And it's a crying shame. Again, some better design to make this game more modular, and it could have easily been a great game. and so much of this is superfluous and unnecessary. It looks fantastic, but the use it gets within the game is poor. The rules lean heavily towards the heroes within the first half, the half in the dungeon, and Korak in the second. The dungeon, aside from gaining points and items, feels more or less pointless for all concerned. It's just an obstacle course. Dying means nothing in this part of the game, and you can quickly get back to where you were more or less unscathed. The castle portion is too heavily weighted to Korak. He can kill a hero in a single turn.
It overall feels unbalanced and unfinished, and I wish that I wanted to play this game more often, but I don't. And that's simply because it's an average game at best. It had the potential to be something amazing and memorable, but it fails at its core with some really unimaginative and poor gameplay. The lack of multiple layouts and the lack of diversity between the characters and special abilities makes the replayability on this one significantly less. It's a classic case of style over substance. The game looks amazing, there's no taking that away from it, but that really is where the praise starts and ends. Well, thanks again for watching, and I'm Luke, and as always, I'll talk to you again soon. Please subscribe and leave comments below. I'm always happy to hear if you like the game or if you didn't like the game. And as always, I'll speak to you again soon.